And there you are.
Hi.
Hello.
Awesome. Am I heard? Am I clear
Yes,
and yeah,
yes.
awesome.
Just give us a sec, huh? Like
Yeah,
people are just joining in.
yes.
It's lovely to see you, Pooja, after such a
I
long
know.
time.
So long.
Yeah.
Been a while. Thank
Oh,
God
very
for
nice.
this.
Yeah. All right. A big hello to all our viewers. Um, So I'll just give a small introduction about what we're going to talk about today. So we've covered a lot of topics related to anxiety and ways of dealing with anxiety. So now we're moving into a lot more specifics. So just to give you an idea, so anxiety is like normal reaction to stress, right? And almost all of us would have experienced it at some point of time. The jitters before an exam or before a performance, or when you think of a deadline, when you're looking at applying for a job. These are all situations where you're likely to feel anxious, right? Where you may worry about certain things, you might have constant thoughts. However, after the stressor is no longer there, the anxiety is likely to go down. But however, there are certain times where it is recurrent, it is repetitive, and it can like become all compassing, take over almost all aspects of your life, where you might even feel less confident about yourself, and start fearing situations, avoiding situations, because it brings up the anxiety. And that is something that we would be talking today. And joining us is Pooja, and she's she is an architect and the founder of Plethora, through which she conducts a lot of public speaking workshops. And a lot of it comes from her own experience, as well as an MC. She's had a lot of experience, and that's one of the ways in which I got to know her. And I've been blown away by her confidence ever since then. And she seemed like the best person to come on board for this. So, just to start off, we're trying to talk about a couple of concepts like anxiety, which I explained, and then we also have self-esteem, which is, or self-confidence, what you feel about your own abilities and your talents, your skills. What is your sense of value about yourself as a person? So, we're trying to see how this relates. So, Pooja, if you can just start off by talking a little about Plethora, and we would love to hear your story, and then we could take it off from there.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I think Plethora is it is a platform where we do a lot of communication, and there's a lot to do with work on your confident self, because I believe that one of your best versions when it comes to confidence comes out when you communicate, when you present. So I think I started Plethora about 3 years ago. I think it was in 2017. And when I started Plethora, I was this uber cool MC, and everything was super sorted. I loved going up on stage, and I think I've easily done about 40 to 50 events of different genres. And it was amazing. Everything felt great until I think I reached a null. I reached like a dead end, where suddenly doing things I love became such an effort. I suddenly felt extremely paralyzed, and there were things that I couldn't feel at all. There was a nullness with my emotions. There was not a single emotion I could feel for a really long time, and that eventually led to like paralysis, where I just stay on bed for days. And then I realized that there was something wrong, and there was something that was not this was it's okay to not feel normal, but I realized I was important. I reached out and did something more about this, and that's when I think I took a step back. And the scenario would pretty much be like, I have this huge audience of maybe 1,000 people that I have to address, and just before I could go on stage, I'd have like a horrible breakdown. Nobody would know, right? But I would go through this internal struggle of, I have no idea how I'm going to go up on stage. Though once I went up on stage, it was like this happy place. It was this place where I could effortlessly flow, but that struggle was extremely painful. I've largely dealt with real bad anxiety for a very long time. And that's when I decided that I will start Plethora and change the basis of talking about confidence not being just about the way it looks, but the flip side of it. that there's also an imperfect side to it. Like for me, every time I came up on stage and spoke about it, people would say, wow, that was effortless, right? But there is a struggle. There is this imperfection is in me that I had to accept, as much as accepting that uber cool performance I gave. And that's the reason why we sort of came up with the concept of Plethora. And I remember talking to my siblings about this, and I told them, I don't feel confident. How am I going to conduct workshops where I'm going to tell people that confidence is an inside job? And there's this very interesting thing my brother said, and he said, that's exactly why you have to do it. Because you felt both the sides of it, right? Feeling underconfident and still showing up, while feeling overconfident or amazing and still showing up. So that was my story with Plethora. And honestly, it was the onset of anxiety that really made me curate something like this. And if you do attend those workshops, you will understand that it's a lot of acceptance. It's a lot of it's not a rule book that, oh, you know what, I wake up tomorrow and I make a great orator, but it's work in progress. And that's the seed we sow in Plethora.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, if like, what was the thing that, or if I may ask it this way, what stopped you from self-acceptance or acceptance about this issue in the beginning when you
So
first
just like,
noticed it?
yeah, just like most people, I think I was very unaware. I was very unaware that something like anxiety or depression really existed. And if it really did exist, I was in denial. I did not want to be a part of a taboo, because we know how difficult it is in a society like ours to be a part of a taboo. It's a whole different struggle. So I was in denial too. And so I think that really stopped me from actually accepting myself completely.
And I think even right now, it's a process of talking about it, right? And in a way, we feel we actually connect to people who would probably be experiencing the same thing. And like you rightfully said, there is always a fear that when you talk also, that it is reality. Like when
Yeah.
you keep it within yourself, it's like a state of denial. But when you speak it out or when you share it with someone, it's then the whole process of having to face reality that a lot of people shy away from. But that's something which you didn't. And I
Yeah.
applaud you for that. You went ahead and started a whole platform to help other people
Yeah.
gain confidence to deal with their anxiety. So
Right.
then coming down to confidence itself, it's such a loose word that people throw around.
Yeah.
So is that something that can be developed, or is it something that you feel people need to be born with?
Firstly, confidence is not a skill, guys. It's innate in all of us. It is something that it is part of all of us being human, right? And what I have realized through my experimentation and my exploration of all of this is, we have, as a society, and conditioning has made a confidence such a heavy word that firstly, half of us don't even know what it means. Secondly, what I think confidence is it's very, very personal. What
Mhm.
makes me feel confident does not have to be something that makes you feel confident. So what I mean is, have you noticed they say, oh, I'm feeling very confident being an architect today, or I'm feeling very confident being a singer today? Somewhere all of this is because someone's validated it for you, right?
Mhm.
Like even when I went up on stage, I've done emceeing for easily 10 years now, and I feel I'm amazing at it because hundreds of people after I finish have come and applauded me saying, wow, you're amazing at it. But that kind of confidence is very temporary. So what I believe is, when we talk about self-confidence in specific, it is very personal to yourself, and it's
Mhm.
validation from within, which we've really forgotten. I am
Mhm.
great at this job because my boss is telling me I'm great at it. Or I'm
Yeah.
great at art because people around me are validating it. So it should
Mhm.
largely, I think, and that's why today a lot of us are very unsettled in the jobs we do. We are getting validation, but at the same time, there's something that's making us feel a lot of discomfort. So I think that really comes from validation. And the other thing is, that's where anxiety really sprouts. The
Mhm.
moment I am told I'm not bad, I'm bad at something, that's
Mhm.
it, right? Your mind is blowing things out of proportion. There's critique and there's so much happening because you've believed so much what the world has told you, that you've actually forgotten to step back and really validate what you are, what you really need. So I think validation, confidence, anxiety, all of this are very intertwined.
So as when you say it's intertwined, I think that also um, puts it out there that it can be independently, that each of these domains can be
Yeah,
independently worked on as well, because they all have an influence on the other. So if you
yeah,
look at something like self-confidence, I've had a couple of people coming and asking me, can I be born with low self-confidence? That is what it is? Right. So I just want to talk a little about the several factors that could be influencing um, the fact that you have low self-confidence. For example, research shows that almost 50% of your personality traits is something which you inherit, right?
right.
So it's not about blaming your genes, but there is
Yeah,
a certain aspect of you which you are inherently born with, right?
yeah,
And then comes a whole bunch of life experiences, which could be, say, maybe the type of parenting you go through, right? If you
yeah,
are constantly asked to double check yourself or put through a period of self doubt and
right.
never allowed to make your own decisions, or where your decisions are always at fault, then you might, come to a state where you start to doubt yourself, and with more self doubt, the self confidence will also
Drop.
decrease, right?
Yeah,
And then the experiences through school and through college, let's say bullying or trauma, or the kind of peer pressures that you go through, the kind of social relationships that you have, this can all also influence how confident you feel about yourself. When you see success, you feel validated. That again, as Pooja explained, those can be external successes, and then you
yeah,
constantly look at external factors to validate what you actually need to validate inside for
right.
yourself, right? And that's a big difficulty, I think, Pooja, because we are all trained by external performance markers, right? Because
Yeah,
marks tells us that you're good at something, or a certificate or a medal tells us that we are good at something, right? A pat
yeah,
on the back tells you that you're good at something. But we are
right.
also capable of giving that pat to ourselves, right? But we are
Absolutely.
trained to accept it from the external world. So again, if you can just stress then, Pooja, about a couple of skills that, or maybe even before that, you conduct a lot of workshops, right? Can you talk
Right.
about some of the struggles that you have seen individuals go through, and what is it that they do to overcome that low confidence that they may present with?
Okay, I think number one that I see through a lot through the various workshops I've done, I think one thing that really ties everybody together is the judgment, right? The first fear of doing anything at the workshop, even just introducing yourself, is judgment. And this is not something I am saying, but this is a question that I put out to them, and everyone's worried that they will get judged. And largely this is also, I think, self-judgment, right? More than, sometimes no one may be judging you, but that narrative in your head is just sometimes so threatening. So I think the first thing that everyone's scared of is judgment. But over a period of time, somewhere we discuss about our vulnerabilities at this particular moment. And I
Mhm.
truly believe, as an individual and also as doing workshop for varied kinds of people, that there is so much beauty in vulnerability. And the moment we discuss that, once we discuss, okay, what is it that we're struggling with about communication? Is it just in my head, or what's really happening? And when they talk this out loud, and when they hear another person saying something exactly that they're going through, they're like, oh my God, wait. So there are other people going through this. So I'm not alone. So suddenly there is this platform where you're safe, where you feel like I can be vulnerable. I can feel a little uncomfortable because another person is feeling uncomfortable too. So I think just
Mhm.
coming in terms with the fact that I do have imperfections, but it's okay, right? So the
Mhm.
workshop largely focuses on that. It's fine that you're not one of the best speakers, but we all are a work in progress. But to
Mhm.
actually understand that maybe there is something that I can do to actually solve this or to get better at it. And so through the curation of the workshop, once I think the ice really breaks once we talk about these flaws, once we speak about what is that discomfort they're facing when they go on stage or when it is talking to a loved one. After that, it is almost very free flowing. It is super easy because everyone's just truly themselves and there is no inhibition suddenly. You're just loving being there, doing what you do. And it's wonderful to even see that in a span of 2 or 3 hours, I already see transition. And that transition is why, just clearly because you've accepted your imperfect self, if I have to put it.
Acceptance
Yeah.
of imperfections. I think we also had a comment somewhere down the line. For some reason, my comment section is it's stuck. So
Okay.
I remember seeing one of the comments which said it's also about knowing and accepting your boundaries or your limitations as well. It's
Right.
not only
Very
about what
important.
you can do, but it's an acceptance of what you can't do as well. Because
Yeah.
only when you accept it and when you know those boundaries, can you decide consciously whether to push them or whether
Yeah.
you want to work around them. But if you're in a constant state of denial, that's as good as not knowing what you're working with or what
Right.
you're working on, right? So
Yeah.
that acceptance and acknowledgement is the first step. Um,
Yes.
I've also realized that a lot of times, media, social media, and plays a big role in how people feel about themselves, right? So
Yes.
we are constantly bombarded with these ideas of perfection. Now, that's something that we had discussed in sessions prior to this about perfection and
Yeah.
what it is. And while we're growing up, seeing these evidences of what is perfect when it comes to dressing, what is perfect when it comes to looks, what is perfect when it comes to success, then there is a constant comparison with that. And we feel that that curated content which is put out there is what defines standards of perfection, right?
Right.
So, if Pooja, you can talk a little about perfectionism and how that can also influence confidence in the self.
Okay. So, great question because I am the number one example for how attached I am to being a perfectionist. I love this as a child. I think it was my favorite thing since the time I ever developed a mind of my own. And I loved being perfect. And I was always that. I was always this overachiever, did things to the T. And it was a lot of fun until when reality kicked in, I think. So I like when I was in the 10th grade, I was like, I led my school as school head girl. And literally, I'm not exaggerating, but the tagline for me back then was practice makes a man puja. So instead of the line practice makes a man perfect, it was practice makes a man puja. And I was super proud of that back then because wow, like look at everyone, you know. But eventually I realized that I was so attached to perfectionism and results that it spilled into every aspect of my life. It spilled into even like today, even when I make coffee and a little milk spills off the container, I am thrown off my day, right? I lose control of how I'm feeling, what's happening. It's those are just small things, but really amplified. And that largely makes me anxious. And that's it. For 20 minutes, you're into an exhaustion. So what I think perfectionism for me, I am still very attached to it, but I'm largely working on breaking that pattern, right? To constantly allow myself to make mistakes. I try and learn a new form of art because I allow myself to make mistakes. So when I went through this whole phase, I love writing and I love art. I love sketching and painting, and I'd stopped doing it for a really long time because the perfectionist in me would be so self-critical, so self-judgmental about even a small stroke that I did, right?
Yeah.
But I think now I've made it a practice to sort of catch myself when these thoughts of perfectionism come in and to allow myself to make a mistake, right? As far as I know myself, there's no way I would let the tube light be seen in the screen. But today I'm allowing that to happen. I'm like, you know what? You're going to be talking about imperfection, embrace it. So I think and it's very liberating. It's very liberating because suddenly I am not dependent on someone telling me, great job, or suddenly I'm not dependent on getting validated. And I genuinely mean it. It's genuinely a conscious effort to self validate. Even before I came in today, I self-validated, asked myself, am I ready? Am I okay with what I'm going to say for the day? And that's it, right? And I really, it's not my concern as to what the result of this would be. So yeah, so I think it's breaking patterns. And yeah, like I said, it was my best friend, but now we're trying to burn the bridge.
I think that's an excellent point, Pooja, about learning to break patterns and the willingness to challenge yourself, right? And not to be comfortable with this status quo of that this is all that is there is to me. There is no other way out. I'm never going to feel confident. I'm never going to overcome my anxiety, or running away from your difficulties or your difficult situations is not really resolving the source of the problem, right?
Yeah.
And I think on the other side, when it's like you mentioned right now, having the tube light on in the background, but knowing that you're actually doing it and you're almost 20 minutes into it is just, I hope I'm not increasing your anxiety, but that's also acceptance that, hey, you know what, maybe it's just 20 minutes, but I've done it, right? So it's when you challenge yourself, it's not about I know sometimes with one of the kind of therapies we follow in psychology is exposure, where we push the person into the situation which they're really afraid of, and then we teach them how to manage their anxiety, right? And then also some things that you can do by yourself, little by little, day by day, by trying to break your routines and breaking the standards of perfection that we have, and realizing even adding an extra cup of an extra spoon of sugar into your coffee, which will throw it off, it will taste, but trying to be okay with it, right? Is small ways you can push yourself in every day to not stick to this harsh standards of perfection, and also to be less critical of ourselves, which will involve therefore increased self-love and increased self-compassion, to be kind to yourselves, that it's okay to make a mistake, right? The only rules that we are setting for making and not making a mistake, it comes from you a lot of times, right? So and also I would actually encourage our viewers to ask yourself today, how many of you are living on a day-to-day basis depending on external validation? How many of you go through that day waiting for that good job from your boss, or a smile from your partner, or a happiness from a kind of applause from someone, or medals or certificates or likes and comments on your social media page? How many of you are driven by external validation? And why can't this just be made internal? So I think when it comes to anxiety and depression, Pooja, one of the indicators also is a feeling that you have lost control over various aspects of your life, right?
Absolutely.
And that happens inevitably when you give that control to external factors to validate you. So when you give that control and then say, I feel like things are out of control, then that's a little bit of a discrepancy, right? So learn to keep that with yourself, that I can also validate myself. I can validate how I feel. After a performance, it's not just about the other person applauding me, but I feel good. Let me feel that and tell myself, hey, this is a good feeling and I did a good job. And that self-validation can actually go a long way to boosting your confidence, to decreasing anxiety, reducing your stress levels, and maybe push you into a lot more new experiences in life, right? We say life is short, and yet we don't challenge ourselves enough sometimes, I feel.
Comfort zone.
Can you also tell us about I know you have done it today, and what is the importance of talking about it? And why do you encourage your participants when they come to your workshop to begin? I think you begin by letting them be more aware of where they are
Yeah.
as when it comes to speaking out and in terms of their vulnerabilities. It's more about a change in awareness. But what is the importance of talking about it?
Okay, so firstly, I think the number one thing that I think people should know is it takes a lot of courage to ever or to any time to, you know, go and talk to somebody about a sort of discomfort that you're going through, especially things like depression and anxiety. I'm not sure if everyone really goes through things like anxiety. So I think we lose a large part of people I want to reach out to because they are not able to resonate with what I'm saying. So when I used to go out, I was very socially anxious as a person. So it was very difficult for me to go and show up in front of any sort of people. I think I hardly knew of 4 or 5 people that I could feel safe. I could break down. I could let the flush on my face be seen. I could actually start shaking when I got anxious. And why was all this is because I think I felt constantly judged. And I constantly felt like people would not accept me because of my condition. And number one reason why I chose to speak about it, or I think people should be speaking about it, is because when I was on tables where 50% of the people would be talking about exactly what I'm going through, but they were clueless. They were clueless that this was called anxiety, that there is psychology, that there is science, and you can actually cure from it. There are ways, there are techniques where you can catch yourself, really take control, feel better. And it's a 20-minute process, it will pass, right? So, first thing I think is awareness. And secondly, when I went through this, for some reason, this journey is extremely painful and lonely. So I used to always Google like common man stories, like just to hear from somebody else, again, external validation, to hear from somebody that they are going through something similar to me, that, you know, maybe I'm not abnormal. It is normal to go through this, but I can do something about it. You will, I think, feel very less lonely in this process. And as much as I talk about reaching out, or that you have to talk about the struggle of anxiety, what I also thought was missing in my personal journey through anxiety is every time I reached out to someone, I was, I'm not generalizing, but there were a set of people who'd shun me away. They'd say, come on, this is just in your head. Or they'd laugh it off, right? Or they'd say, dude, are you kidding me? You're getting attached to something like this. You can fight it off or toughen up. So it's very difficult for a person going through anxiety to, even in the best words, articulate what it feels like. I cannot even do a 50% judgment of what it feels like when you're in those 20 minutes. It's like you're in an ocean and you're drowning, and you want to come back to the surface, and you're really trying to grip onto something, but you can't. Everything hazes out, and the moment somebody laughs at you or somebody shuns you away, you're just drowning deeper, right?
Okay.
And so I felt like a lot of people, because they could not resonate with this, they never empathized. And as
Yeah.
much as I would say people should talk about it, I think it is very important that we as a society, we as a generation, become a little more empathetic and kind. So I read this somewhere and it profoundly stays with me. And it says that just because you've not gone through, if you've not experienced a certain thing, it does not mean that it doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
If you've not experienced this, it truly exists. Maybe you don't understand it 100%, but all you can do is be empathetic, be kind, like really shun mockery and stop. Because I've been on tables where people have made so much fun of mental illness. They've called it a millennial thing. It's an excuse, right? Nobody wants to feel that way. And it's important that's what makes us human. I'm not asking you to do anything. You're doing a great job, Rachel, with giving out maybe, you know, small tips of how to deal with people going through this. So if you don't know how to deal with a person who's coming and telling you they're feeling discomfort, then do something about it, right? So I think as much as I would encourage people to talk about it because it's liberating, you also are helping somebody in the process. You never know if the person sitting next to you is exactly going through what you are. Like that has given me a lot of courage, just hearing people talk about it. You know, like it gives you a lot of courage. And most importantly, I think it is very important. It's like two sides of a coin. If I need to reach out to someone, I need someone to at least sit by me and just
Yeah.
show some sort of empathy and kindness, right? And
Yeah.
I think that is of paramount importance. Yeah.
And I think when it comes to empathy as well, some of the things that we have been speaking about, Pooja, is that even if you have not gone through the same thing, but yet it is still possible for you to empathize. Sometimes all that you have to do is listen without
Yeah,
judgment, right?
absolutely.
Or listen without giving advice,
Yeah,
listen without passing comments. And
yeah,
if you've got through that, and if you're able to listen, right, the next step is to ask questions to try and understand what the other person is going through, right? So for
absolutely. Yeah,
example, if a person comes to you and says, I don't feel like going up on stage, I'm just feeling a little jittery, you don't laugh at them at
yeah,
that point of time, right? It could be something very real.
yeah,
But to say that, okay, what exactly are you going through? What's running through your mind? Is there
right.
something I can help you with? That's
Yeah,
all. It's just a set of new statements that you can just replace there. And
yeah,
that one thing can go a long way to helping this person feel that one person understands me. And a lot of times, Pooja, I've also realized that even with my clients, that they're looking for just even one person understanding them or
yeah. Most
empathizing with them can make a huge
huge
difference.
difference. Yeah,
It make a huge difference to uh, putting out their vulnerabilities, to being comfortable with it. We've spoken about acceptance of boundaries, right? And
right.
that's not just your acceptance. You should also be okay with putting your vulnerabilities out there and being okay with it. A
Yeah,
vulnerability doesn't mean it's a weakness that you need to be laughed about or to be judged about. I think sometimes our harshest critic is ourselves, right? We are so afraid of being judged. And yes, judgments are there, but we are more afraid of the repercussions it has on us
right.
and our own opinions about ourselves. And that
Yeah,
comes back to self esteem and self concept, right? About
right.
what do we feel about ourselves, no matter who. I've also seen, people who go up on stage and do their thing. Even when there are people who are snickering and laughing and passing comments, but they're able to carry themselves off pretty well because of what they think about themselves, which
Right.
matters a lot more than people who probably do not know them at all. In fact, I also know of people who break down when they get harsh comments on social media from people they don't even know, right?
Yeah,
Now, that is a huge reflection of your self concept. What do you feel about yourself? If you feel
right.
insecure, if you feel inferior, and if somebody just agrees, one person just agrees, that does not mean that shouldn't bring your whole world crashing down.
Yeah,
So we spoke
absolutely.
about self confidence, anxiety, and the importance of validation and confidence. So as a takeaway, Pooja, if you can talk a little about some of the small things that people can do to improve each of these domains independently, and even if it is together, what is it that they can do?
Okay, so I think firstly, it is the first job that all of us should genuinely be doing if we're on this journey of feeling more confident, especially self-confident, is actually sit down and ask yourself what it means to you. To really ask yourself, are you a definition or a product of exactly what the society is defining for you, or do you really have a definition for yourself? I'm a fresher, and at most of my interviews, I'm asked, what are your strengths? And that is the hardest thing to ever, or tell me about yourself. And suddenly you're like, whoa, I'm 25 and I don't know if I have an answer. That answer will always be work in progress. But the truth is to actually sit down and ask yourself who you truly are. Because I
Mhm.
think there is beauty in just being you, whether it is vulnerable, whether it is being not vulnerable, everything is you. And I think that's where the word plethora sprouts from. And the concept of that word is plethora means many, that all of us have a lot of different personalities in us. It's not just that one personality you portray. I am not just the orator who MCs for events. I'm not just an architect who appears in front of clients, right? There are a lot more versions of me. So I think to accept that, firstly, so like I said, first thing I would say is to really be you and to ask yourself, what is that being you really mean? And then the next thing I think is it is such a habit to emulate or imitate. The moment I see someone going up on stage and they speak, I'm like, wow, you know what? I need to sound and do exactly what he or she is doing, and then I'll be a great orator. But the hack is in the fact that it's important you get inspired and you don't emulate, right? And to actually try and understand that we all are made differently for a reason. And there is intention and purpose to exactly why we are, how we are, and what we are. So I think it is important to get inspired and to really set back from what we call as emulation. And that again will come into place when you really start accepting who you truly are. And I think one of the most important things I do personally, and it's worked for me, is every morning before I jump on to social media and my phone and all the chaos that's going on in the world, the first thing I do is there is a narrative for the day. So I know that I have these assignments planned out for the day. The first thing I do is sit down and ask myself, have I done enough? Have I ticked off and validated how much I've performed? Because I deal with performance anxiety as well. So a narrative to really tell yourself that, okay, great, you know what? We've ticked off boxes in truly which is validating me. So great, I am ready for the day. Even if I go and do a presentation and it's not approved, we definitely want feedback, but that is not proportional to my self-worth. So that is a small narrative, which is very important, I think, before you start your day, to actually have that conversation with yourself. And most importantly, and my favorite of all, is allow yourself to make mistakes. We are all on this trace of being a perfectionist, but truly there is nothing like ideal and being a perfectionist. The truth is that it all lies in accepting your imperfections. And I think that's what makes you perfect. It's just a heavy word that the society has created. Oh, be perfect, be successful, you should not fail. These are just terms, but honestly, they're all largely experiences, which we've attached a positive or a negative thing to. And also, I think the last takeaway is to keep reminding yourself to have, to change the self-talk within your head. So the moment the milk spills from the container, I can't say, what the hell, look at how clumsy you are. You can't do one thing right. To just like breathe in, breathe out and say, it's totally okay. We got this. And to actually take control of it and tell yourself that you're human and you totally are allowed to make this mistake. And like I said, this is easier said than done. It sounds, you know, it's so nice in theory, but when you get there, it is a lot of hard work. And the thing with confidence that we need to understand is there will be days you will feel super confident. There will be days you feel underconfident, and that is totally okay. It's about just accepting that in a span of a day, there will be moments I'm feeling very confident, but there will be moments I'm not feeling too confident. But it's just like, you know, the different emotions. It's funny how much attention is given to this little character called happiness, but these other few emotions we've completely forgotten. But the truth is, the truth is, if these emotions didn't exist, I'd never really notice happiness. So it's like that. You have to embrace the low confidence. You have to embrace the clumsiness or the discomfort to really appreciate what it feels like to be confident. And I think why I wouldn't say, okay, get up, do this, do that, do, because you know what, it's not rules that we have. It's guidelines that you have to personally sit down and ask yourself. For you, it might be just going on a run and coming and you're going to feel uber confident that day, right? Or maybe just sitting and journaling, maybe just spending time with a loved one, sipping on coffee. So it is very different for everybody. But the first step to, you know, feeling confident is to really question what is self-confidence to you and what you really are. What can I do to authentically and really be me? Yeah.
So there's so the beauty in being ourselves and embracing all aspects of us, the good, the bad, the ugly, our strengths and weaknesses. It's the whole package, and to embrace it and to live life to its fullest with all of that. Push your boundaries, seek new challenges, give yourself a cheer at the beginning of every day, even in between the day and at the end of the day, for every little thing that you achieve. And it's probably, if larger targets seem like too much for you, break it down into smaller goals as well. And for the smaller goals that you achieve, let's say if you're able to get through for 15 minutes in a day without a disruptive thought about what's to come or without anticipating the worst. Give yourself a cheer for that. That's good enough. There's nothing telling you that you have to go for an entire day without anxious thoughts to be this perfect person.
Yeah.
And I think when you're working on yourself, this is something which I've always done on myself when it comes to a couple of the flaws that I've been working with, is you can always grade yourself, say at the beginning of a month when you start work on yourself, and say, you know what, this time when I'm facing this situation, my anxiety is, say, at an all high. It's about 9 out of 10 right now. And then you start to work on yourself, and sometime down the line, you just evaluate again and say, hey, it's actually not that bad right now. It's not that great. It's probably about 8. But that matter of a small difference also brings to mind that you have worked on yourself and it is successful. And that's the kind of validation that you can give yourself, that what you're doing is working, right? And feedback doesn't mean criticism, right? And if you're the one who is giving it, remember that be kind.
Yeah,
be kind,
that's important.
right? Listen without judgment, and you definitely make a difference in someone's life, and if not others, make a difference to your own life, right?
Yeah, and most importantly, I think to really recognize what drives you, to really make sure that you do something that you like, because that you are anyway going to be good at it. And the moment you see that, oh, you know, wow, I'm actually able to do this well enough, and that is your journey on feeling confident, I think, to do those little steps, but to make it very personal and not driven by something external, but something very internal. It could just be cooking. It could just be listening to music. Are you able to mindfully and completely do it? And that's it. You will truly see how these small things will actually build your self-confidence, because I think you are getting closer to your truest self, one, and secondly, you're truly being you. There's no pretense, there's no fitting in, and then it's effortless.
I think just while doing this live, I've realized that my anxiety has come down a lot, because I used to be very bothered about the Instagram comment section, and I've realized it's been stuck for about a good 20 minutes right now, and I've not panicked. So I'm really sorry I apologize to our viewers who probably might have sent in questions, but my comment section is stuck. I'm not able to see any of the questions, so we are more than happy to address that even offline. But at this point, we are having a series on our pages called Let's Talk, and a big thank you to a lot of you who have written in to us. It's about talking about your anxiety. You can send in a write-up, or you can even send in a write-up about the importance about talking about it, right?
Yeah.
And we'll be running this series for the next week as well. We've already have a couple of entries, and Pooja is doing a workshop next week, right, Pooja? Yes, she's doing a workshop. I really encourage all of you to check it out. It's a public speaking workshop, and as you can see, Pooja here, very confident. Yes, Pooja.
Equally underconfident. So yeah, let's not forget that.
It's in your work, and I can definitely give that guarantee to people. It will be a good takeaway. It will be a healthy takeaway. Please do check out her workshop, and do write into us. I'll put up the poster again about the Let's Talk series. We would love to hear from you. If you have any questions, please feel free to DM us, and the video of the session will also be up by the end of this day on YouTube. Please feel free to share any of our content. The more the merrier, and we're just growing our community here of people who are loving, compassionate, understanding, and empathic of one another. Thank you so much, Pooja, for joining us.
Thank you, Rachel. This was a lot of fun, and I loved it.
Yes, definitely.
I feel liberated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Figure out how to exit the chat now. So thank you so much. Thank you.
See you guys.
No voice can hold you.